Welcome back to this hobby of ours. I am still lost in Indiana with
Ricardo.
What up, Ricardo? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing super well.
We are doing some random shooting before we go into the show, the really big show, this evening. Just catching up. We became fast friends out in Vegas when we went to the Paul Thorpe meetup last year. I rang him up whenever I knew I was coming to Indiana. I'm like, hey, do you want to come up to this? He's like, oh yeah, totally. So we hung out yesterday a bit. We're going to do some shooting today, and what's on the docket for right now? We're going to talk about watch journeys, right?
Yes.
I am still wearing the Porsche design. He is still rocking the 1603 Buckley. Let's get into it. Was left that way?
Yeah.
Is that the way back?
That's the way back.
Oh. Like I said, I was lost in Carmel. Thank you, navigator. All right, so what are we talking about? Watch journey. How did you get into watches, man? Were you always into it? When did it start for you?
Oh well, I suppose the first clock I remember is my grandfather's grandfather clock. It was in his house, and
Yeah, I have a memory of that too, of mine. Yeah.
yes, it had the Big Ben chimes,
Yeah.
and it wasn't an especially valuable piece or anything, but it was a nice grandfather clock, and I own it today, and it's in my
Oh, you
living
do?
room. Yes, it's
Oh,
been
right on, man.
handed down to me, and it's in my living room, going off it all the time. So.
I think we, meaning me and my brother, because like everyone else is gone, I think we have the clock head from his, but he was a carpenter and he had built a body for it, and whenever he passed, some other family member made off with the grandfather clock body. Like, why would you separate the two, number one? Number two, this family member wasn't as close as, it wasn't one of the daughters. He's like one of the cousins or something. Yeah, so I don't know where I've got half of a grandfather clock, but you got all of the one that you got.
Yes, I did get all the one that I have, but I had a clock specialist come in, and it needed the mechanism replaced. It was 50 some years old.
Yeah.
And it needed to be replaced. So that I got it done, and it runs like a top now. So it's
Wow.
great. But so
Like a clock doctor.
right, yes, there's a really good guy in there in Nashville for that.
All right.
So and then of course at school you had to be certain places on time, but I just remember seeing watches and thinking they were interesting, and I didn't know anything about them. The first one I can remember having was I believe it was a Citizen quartz watch with like steel bracelet. I know I had a Timex at one point with an expanding bracelet, and I just always really appreciated this sort of like hermetically sealed, pristine world in there, where wherever life was going, that it may not be as orderly and as well directed as you like. You could always look down into your watch. And I can remember being at school and needing to know what time the next class is and that sort of thing, or how long the rest of the day is going to be, and being able to conveniently look at it if I didn't have a clock in my view. And so, a watch just became a part of my everyday.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if you're the same way, but I don't remember where I was or exactly what the incident was, but I can remember looking at a clock and realizing that I was way late for something and being alarmed and, oh my God, I missed, whatever it was I needed to go do. And when you have a watch on your wrist and you're looking at it pretty regularly, then you just sort of feel what time it is, and you don't have that surprise thing kind of able to creep up on you.
Yeah, I went to Catholic grade school, and I had nuns, and they were always chasing us around, giving us stress. I think my first watch was a Star Wars C-3PO R2-D2 watch. I'll pop up a picture of it. I still have it. I need to get the glass replaced. But I don't know that I'm going to be able to find a crystal for that piece. Maybe I'll send it to Joe at SJR, see if he can sort us out on that.
Probably
What up, Joe?
Hi, Joe.
It's not. It begins with a B. I can't remember, but there was this company that made a bunch of those novelty watches back then. It's not Benris, but it's like that name. It's about that many letters. I just can't remember it. And then I had a digital watch that the alarm played Dixie, and I just thought that was super cool. And then I remember like going through department stores looking at watches, and I particularly like that one Citizen dive watch that was sold, and it come in that little fake scuba tank thing, and it had the depth gauge off to the left. It looks, yeah. It's shaped like a Ploprof. It's nowhere near as big or as quality, but okay. So that was you when you were younger. When did you get like maybe your first nice watch that you would consider a nice watch, and what was it? Was it when you were a teenager, older?
Well, the first time I really started thinking about watches again in a more serious way was when I was surfing in Los Angeles, and I needed a watch to be able to wear out into the sea. So because I'd be out there for a couple of hours, and I'd need to know, do I need to get back and
like
have a watch in there?
Like a G-Shock?
I started looking at various watches, and I didn't find one that met the right combination of quality plus I'm willing to wear it into the ocean. And so I wound up, I just whiffed at that point and didn't get one. And so then, by this time, mobile phones were really popular, and so you always had a mobile phone in your hand with the time on it, or I'm sitting at my desk with the time.
Not on the surfboard, though.
Not on the surfboard, though. That would have been actually a little bit easier to do, especially because I would go surfing at 6 in the morning, and it was fantastic. There's nobody out there, and it's beautiful, beautiful weather. You got the dolphins coming right by you.
Oh, right on.
And then how can you go have a bad day after that?
That's well put. I mean, it starts rather early, but they have those G-Shocks that have the tide monitor on it.
Right. Were I to do it again, that's exactly the route I would go. Exactly.
So you didn't get anything then for the surfing?
Didn't get anything for the surfing, and then I didn't pay attention to watches as much for quite a while. But then the YouTube era sort of dawned, and there started to be some watch channels, and it just really hooked my interest.
Oh, right.
And I didn't know what the Holy Trinity was. I didn't know, what the different tiers of Swiss watches were and that kind of thing. And I the more I watched of these, the more interested I got, the more reading I did.
Yeah.
And then started going to just check out ADs and look at watches that are really interesting versus ones that are really monetarily valuable, and which ones I like and that kind of thing. And then eventually I was in a place where I was able to start buying some quality watches. I had some fun ones, like I mentioned, some different swatches and that kind of thing. But
what was the first big one? The first big one, like the first time you're like, hey, this is a lot of money to spend on a watch.
The GMT Master 2 Root Beer.
Root Beer. Oh, okay.
Root Beer edition. Yes.
That wasn't too long ago for you, was it? That's just in the last
a year and a half or something like that.
Oh wow, that's super new.
It's been a little while, yeah, but it took a combination of not only me knowing about watches and being really interested in watches, but also being able to afford it. And
I'm pretty sure the Jeep driver behind us would like to join in the conversation by how close he is on my butt. So if I seem distracted, it's probably because we're going to get shot out, because I am kind of driving slow, I just realized. But yeah, that's a pretty amazing first bit. Oh, let's see if he waves to us. Bye! Gosh, drivers.
Yes, and then so I started shopping for the watches. I was looking at eBay. I buy a lot of things off eBay. I was looking at various recommended, trusted dealers that people were talking about in the YouTube videos and so on. And I saw one listed on eBay that looked like the right kind of the right purchase
package,
for me.
So
it was a full set, box and papers, and it was very new.
Let's back up. How did you land on the two-tone Root Beer GMT as the one for the first big purchase? Because I know you went secondary market. We're not going to say what, but you did pay a premium because you told me about it. So what made that particular reference the one?
I'd have to call it an emotional reaction to looking at all of the different GMTs that were out there and seeing people wearing them, and the color scheme on this one and the two-tone on it
just worked.
It really worked. And then also it seemed, since you're paying a premium, I evaluated how much premium you're paying when you get one that's the lowest cost GMT2 versus the expensive ones. And this one had, I would call it the lowest markup as a percentage of the list price.
And that is the way two-tone goes. So that's actually very smart. It sounds like you did an awful lot of research, bro. I should probably do more of that. I'm not operating at that level. I tend to have watches that are a little more modest than that space, because once you get into that, that's a lot of gold. So it's a cool piece. On that previous video, we already covered that you also have that 1603 Datejust gorgeous Buckley dial. And then I guess the next question is, where are you going from here as a collector? Where do you go? You got your GMT, more or less sport travel watch. You got your Datejust, which is dress watch, but because of age, more dress than sport. Where are you going from here?
Well, to be really honest with you, I don't have another purchase that I want to make immediately. I've registered interest with my AD for a Batgirl.
Oh,
so
right on.
Were he to come up with one, but it's almost a safe thing to do to register interest, knowing they're not really going to be able to come up with one for quite a while. So.
Or even register you these days. But I'm surprised you're not going like a chronograph. Is that not your jam?
I wore a chronograph at one time in my life, and I didn't use the features really, and it didn't fit exactly. It didn't fit me.
You didn't need it.
Yeah, it didn't work exactly in terms of the physical way it sits on your wrist.
You can have one of those chronographs, though.
Yeah. Oh no, that one's beautiful. Nothing wrong with that one.
I'm just teasing you. I'm so chronograph heavy, and I'm probably just like you. I can't see it, right? So I'm more apt to time something on my phone. How embarrassing. This is Hobby of Hours Confessions with D and Ricardo. You've got the root beer GMT. I guess I'm surprised that the Batgirl would be next. I mean, it's okay if that's your thing. I love the GMT complication. I think all dive watches should have it because it adds nothing to the movement height.
I do like that complication. I've traveled overseas with the GMT, and it was.
That's right. You do a lot of traveling.
It was fun to use it. It was fun to just set it while I was on the plane, and then have a reference hand that tells you what the time is back home. So I use it exactly as pilots would have done back in the 50s.
I support it, my man. I support it. This, with the whole Rolex CPO business. I've been noticing in my town that Rolexes are becoming more available, and I'm hoping that is a viable trend, because I hope you get your Batgirl, dude. Did you know that whichever one you get, Batman or Batgirl, that at the time of purchase, you can also buy the other one, the other bracelet? Like, they'll sell it to you.
Is that true? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like $2,500, which is a lot. And I think if I get a GMT, I want to get the left-hand drive. And
that's a beautiful, interesting piece.
It's an unusual piece. And I will confess, part of it is I know it's going to go up in value because I know they're going to cancel it. But also I want to use it as a golf watch. Long story, another video. But I would probably be apt to use that business, that timing opportunity to get the other bracelet with it. Even though it's a lot. I mean, I would get the Oyster for a GMT because I see it as a sports watch, and the Jubilee for me is a dress bracelet. But I don't know if you can just go in and buy the bracelet any old day, because if you can do that, then I don't need to coordinate it, right?
That's true.
Look that up.
I don't have an answer on that.
Did you ever think about getting the Jubilee two-tone as an add-on for your GMT, or no?
It never occurred to me because I like the Oyster bracelet that's on it so much. Yeah. It's just so.
I think it's like $6,000 too, by the way.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. I think Kurt was looking at maybe getting one. That might be for his. What's that one they got? That's the piloty one, the command bezel. Gosh, Kurt's gonna strangle me if I don't recall this. What's their, not the Yachtmaster, but the other, Skydweller. Oh my gosh.
Oh, right.
I might have to cut that part out, otherwise I'll never hear the end of it from Big Wrist Energy.
Skydweller is a beautiful watch. Definitely.
I think it's neat. It's too much watch for me personally.
Yeah, I'd have to have a bigger budget to go in on that one. But
no, I think if you get it at retail in steel, I think it's like 16.
Okay.
Something like that, somewhere in there. That's under 20. But anywho, all right, my main man, good to hear about your watch journey. I think we should probably call it and get back to the thing because I got way too many road ragers behind me who are annoyed. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and
My pleasure.
we will catch you in the next one. Take care. Peace.